the power of emotion was one of the most transformative thing I did for myself compared to any other self-development approaches. Emotions dictate all your actions and decisions. Yes, we use logic and our rational mind to come up with a plan, but it's still based on an emotion of how we think we will feel at the end of it. So it's all emotional. It's an emotional decision. It's just how high quality of an emotional decision we're taking. If there are certain emotions you're really scared of and you're avoiding, that avoidance is what creates the stories and thoughts you have in your head. Once you feel and process and release the emotion, the stories and thoughts either go away or they change. What's up, guys? This is Marvin Payne, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the power of emotions. So the main points of this video will be why I'm doing it, right? How it was one of the most transformative thing I did for myself, and yeah, compared to any other self-development approaches, you can say, this was the most transformative. And I think especially in this time of AI, emotions will be the unfair advantages, you can say. I will go deeper into why I believe basically how all decisions are actually based on emotions, and also connect it with a study that was done by a neuroscientist on this. Yeah, I'll go into why the intellectual approach is so ineffective, and that's basically how most of us in the West operate. I'll go into the misconceptions of emotions and the misunderstandings of it. I'll go into the benefits of emotional mastery, you can say, or emotional fluidity. And yeah, I'll also go a bit deeper into future videos I will be making based on this video. So this video will be kind of like the intro video of emotions, right? And in future videos I will dive deeper, probably make a video on each of the main emotions, you can say. So that's the main points of this video. Yeah, so why am I creating this motion video and series, right? So there's three main things there, right? The first one was that it was the most transformative thing that happened for me, and still is. Out of all the self-development approaches or tools, you can say, this was the most transformative, right? And I've done a lot. I've been obsessed with self-development, you can say, for over 10 years, and yeah, it was really my obsession, 24/7. And yeah, out of everything, whether that's going to the gym or meditation or searching groups, self-development groups, taking action, all limiting beliefs, all of those things, they're good, but at least for me, understanding or working with my emotions was the thing that actually transformed me, right? Because all of that was kind of just a symptom, and the emotions were actually the root cause underneath all of it, right? So that's one of the main reasons, right? It's the most effective transformational tool, you can say, I've found. The second thing here is that I think it, especially in this time of AI, it will be your unfair advantages, right? In the times of I think AI will take over all the admin stuff, and what's kind of left is kind of your unique perspectives or questions, or yeah, your unique perspectives and questions and angles on things, right? That you can't outsource to AI, right? And that will be the thing that dictate what you do with AI. So you can even say it's your true authenticity or uniqueness, right? And I think working with your emotions is the most effective ways to find your true authenticity or your true uniqueness, you can say. The third thing here is that emotions dictate all your actions and decisions. And that might sound very counterintuitive, because a lot of us think that the best decisions are logical, right? Don't be so emotional is what most people say, right? But that is actually a misconception. So there was a neuroscientist that did a study on this person. So let me just check what his name was. So yeah, there was a neuroscientist named Antonio Damasio. Antonio Damasio. Yeah. So he studied a guy, right? And this guy was a successful businessman. And yeah, this guy was very smart. He was on the higher percentiles of when it came to IQ, right? So he was very good logically. Yeah, he had good memory. He had high mathematical skills, logical reasoning, and language, etc. But then he had a tumor, and he had to remove a part of his brain, a part that was in his prefrontal cortex. And this part was responsible for bridging or connecting his emotional brain with his logical brain, right? And he had to remove this. And after he removed this, his life basically completely crumbled, right? So his IQ stayed the same, but he couldn't make decisions anymore. Yeah, so they studied him, and it took over 30 minutes for him to decide which color pen to use, right? And sometimes it took him 2 hours to decide where to eat, which is very fascinating, right? And at least for me, that aligns a lot with what I notice for myself and others when it comes to decisions. Yes, we use logic and our rational mind, right, to come up with a plan, right? But we only use it on how to get to where we want to get. But all of the logic is based on an emotion. It's based on how we want to feel at the end of that decision, right? Even though we use logic on how to get there, it's still based on an emotion of how we think we will feel at the end of it, right? So it's all emotional. It's an emotional decision. It's just how high quality of an emotional decision you can say we're taking. So you can imagine, right? If you are really scared of a certain emotion, or you're really trying to avoid an emotion, you can imagine how that will negatively impact your decision, right? And you've probably seen this with a lot of people, how they just come up with stories or strategies that kind of doesn't make sense for you, like why, like it doesn't make sense, the strategy or his reasoning, and it's probably because he is basing that off an emotion that he's scared to feel, or he or she is scared to feel, right? And you probably notice it with yourself too. If there's a certain emotion that you're really scared of and you don't want to feel it in a situation, your mind will come up with stories to make you avoid that emotion, right? So it's not based on reality, you can say. It's more based on the emotion you're scared to feel or you're avoiding. So you can see how the emotion is kind of your blurring your thinking, right? And we'll dive deeper into this video and in future videos on, how to make better or higher quality decisions and not get blurred by these emotions. Yeah, and another thing that relates to this is that only using your intellect or an intellectual approach is very ineffective for change or transformation. And most of us know this intuitively, right? We know the guy, or we know the person who understands everything intellectually, but they are not actually changing or transforming, right? Or maybe we understand it ourselves, right? We read up all the theory, but still nothing happens. Because change happens, you can say change happens when you take action. But how I look at it is that emotions kind of controls your actions, right? So in my opinion, you want to use both the intellectual mind and the emotional mind, you can say, or system for change. And I think the emotional system is much more effective, right, alone. But you can use all of them, right? You want to use both the emotional and the intellectual. But using only the intellectual is very ineffective. Using only the emotional system, I would say, is very effective. And it's even more effective if you use both the emotional and the intellectual system. And a related thing to this, you can say, is talk therapy, right? Or therapy in the West. I think for a lot of people, they do find value from talk therapy, but there's definitely also a lot of people that, like, it doesn't help them a lot. And yeah, I know and talked to a lot of therapists, and the whole talk therapy is based on only the intellectual part, right? And yeah, I think that's why a lot of people haven't found talk therapy so valuable. And I think it's also why you can say the somatic approach or the emotional approach is starting to get more and more acknowledged. And because it related to what I mentioned earlier, right, with emotions and stories and thoughts. In my opinion, a lot of the stories we tell ourselves and a lot of the thoughts we have is based on emotions. So if there are certain emotions you're really scared of and you're avoiding, that avoidance is what creates the stories and thoughts you have in your head. So maybe I can give an example. Yeah, maybe you feel very scared of something, right? And instead of feeling the fear or processing, instead of that, you're avoiding fear. And that avoidance is what creates the stories you tell yourself, right? Now you tell yourself you can't do it, or you just come up with stories to not make, to not do the thing, right? Because the avoidance of the emotion is what creates the stories and thoughts in your head. And what's super fascinating, if you've done the work, is that once you feel and process and release the emotion, the stories and thoughts either go away or they change, which is super fascinating, right? And that's with fear, right? But it's with all emotions, whether that's anger, right? If you're avoiding anger, you might have had stories about how that person is so evil or bad, right? Or sadness, you might think very negative things about you or how things are unfair and stuff. And what's super fascinating is once you feel, process, and release, for example, anger and sadness, all those stories that were based on those emotions either goes away or they change. So I could also give a personal example. There's many, but maybe a very relatable example is, at least for me, I actually didn't know this for a very long time, but I was really scared of this feeling of not feeling good enough. And what happens is that then this emotion, or it's actually a lot of emotion packed in this feeling, but let's just call it an emotion for now. That emotion drove basically all of my actions. Like, there was a bird coming here. Yeah, it basically drove all of my actions and decisions. You know, which job to get, or quitting my job to start a business, or which person I wanted to connect with, etc. It drove all of my decisions, both big decisions, but just small decisions too, like what clothes to wear and stuff. And yeah, you can see how devastating, or you can see how negative that is, right? Because in my head, I I would consider myself a smart person. I have pretty good IQ and stuff. In my head, all the stories and thoughts sounded very logical. And like at that time, I didn't think of it, but it all sounded very true to me, right? I basically tricked myself for many years. And you can see how right? That avoiding of emotion is what drives all my decisions. No matter how smart or logical I think I am, I'm just using logic based on that emotion. And yeah, once I felt it and processed it and worked with my emotions, that completely changed everything. Yeah, it wasn't easy, right? But the the summary here is that yeah, it completely changed everything, because now my decisions and actions aren't based on avoiding that emotion anymore. Now my decisions are out of just pure curiosity or interest, right? And you can see how much more alignment that would have created for my life. And yeah, basically there's no pressure or performance to do anything, right? Or needing to do it. It's just out of my curiosity or interest. And you can also look at it as, dirty and clean fuel, right? Before, when trying to avoid this feeling, I had to use a lot of discipline, right? To get things done. And it works in the short term, but it doesn't last. How long can you go if you always need to push through? And this is what I would call dirty fuel, right? But most of the time now, it's clean fuel, you can say. I'm just doing things out of interest, like genuine interest and curiosity. And it's more of a pull, right? It's not pushing, but it's more of a pull. And you can say that this, how I am looking at it now, I can't see how this energy will run out. It feels like it will last forever, right? Right. The dirty fuel, or the discipline, you can say, made me feel very bad inside, and it kind of burned me out. Whereas this energy energizes me. Okay, so what are the benefits? So what do you actually get out of this emotional work, right? I've touched upon it, right? But all your decisions become cleaner and better, like higher quality decisions, right? And yeah, by all decisions, I mean all decisions, right? In your professional life, or in your business, and in your personal and romantic life, right? It is exactly the same with avoiding emotions and the stories and thoughts you tell yourself, right? If there are certain emotions you're avoiding, you will just come up with stories to avoid that emotion, even though that decision might not be the best for your professional life or business or your personal and romantic life, right? So it will help all your decisions. It would also break your, you can say, bad habits or emotional patterns, right? Because all your emotional patterns are emotional, right? They're based on your emotions. And yeah, related to the bad habits, right? there is a saying that shame is the bind, shame is the lock that bind all your bad habits together. And the emotion we're working with here is shame, right? And once you work with shame, your bad habits will transform. I will get into that later. I will make a video on shame too, but the gist of it is that working with your emotions will finally break your emotional patterns and bad habits. The third thing, the third benefit you can say is that what I found is that working with your emotions is one of the most effective way to find your true authenticity, right? A, a lot of us kind of just want to be ourselves, right? But we feel we can't be it. And being yourself is kind of, or being your true, your unique or authentic self is is your unfair advantage to everything, because that is your unique perspective on things, that is your unique curiosity and obsession that no one can really compete with you on, right? Like Ravikant, I don't know how to say his name. Like Naval says, right? Like no one can compete with you on being you. And that is especially true in this time of AI. And working with emotions, I think, is the most effective way to find your true authenticity again. Because if you think of it, right, like we want to be ourselves, right, or we want to feel safe to be ourselves, or go after our curiosity obsessions. And you can see how shame comes into this, right? You feel ashamed, right? Or you're scared of somebody getting angry, or you feel fear, or you're avoiding sadness, right? You can see how emotions is the thing that controls or dictates all of this. And kind of second order consequences that come out of it, you can say, is that okay, once you feel like you can just comfortably be yourself or your unique and authentic self, you will feel deeply connected with yourself, right? And because you're deeply connected with yourself and you feel safe to be yourself, you will also feel extremely connected to everyone around you and the world. One of the main reasons you don't feel connected to everyone around you and the world is because you're not being yourself in the first place. So they cannot connect with you and you can't connect with them. All right? So once you are being yourself, you give everyone the chance to connect with you. Like no one can connect with you if you aren't yourself. Right? So you find this deep connection again with yourself and everyone around you and the world as a whole. And you'll just feel extremely safe now that you are being yourself and seeing that, you know, it's safe and okay. And you will get into this state of being very light and playful and joyful. And the last thing I wanted to connect with this is that you also will feel with the connection and working with the connection with yourself and others and the world, and through working with your emotions, you will feel extreme empathy for everyone. You will feel empathy for the ones that get angry a lot, for the ones that get sad a lot, for the ones that get very scared of things, because you've been there yourself and you have worked through your emotions, and now you understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling. You understand maybe the stories and thought they have in their head based on avoiding those emotions. So you'll just end up having much more empathy and love and understanding for them, right? Instead of judging them and not understanding why they're acting the way they're acting. And they will feel it too. So yeah, that's that's the benefits, right? And that's why I'm making this video, and this video will also be the intro video for the emotion series that I'm making. So I told you everything of why I'm doing it. And yeah, in the emotion series, I want to dive deeper into each of the main emotions. I talked very generally about the emotions, but yeah, we want to work with each emotion, right? We want to dive deep into each of the main emotions. So I will go through the most common ones first. I've already made a video on fear, I think. So the first videos will probably be fear. Then the second will probably be shame. Third one will be anger. And the fourth one will be sadness, I think. So those are the first 4 videos, and I will dive deeper into even more emotions. Maybe I'll dive deeper into, you can say, a deeper form of fear, like helplessness or terror. I will also go into positive emotions. A lot of people are actually not aware that they're actually also scared of positive emotions like excitement or joy. Yeah, and a little cool thing here is that, when you're restricting your excitement, it can often turn into fear and anxiety, right? So I'll dive deeper into that. Yeah, those will be future videos. I've already made a video on fear and shame and anger. So I will I will post them very soon, and probably link them below so you can watch them pretty quickly if you want that. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. If you have any questions, if anything was unclear, or if there's anything you want me to make a video about, comment below, or just comment below to support the channel. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the future videos. Bye. Dun, 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 dun.